The stark truth is, if you're watching this, you're not healing, you're repeating. The very act of seeking external solutions, the endless scroll through self-help gurus, the comfort found in spiritual jargon, these are not pathways to wholeness. They are sophisticated cloaks for an ancient fear, a deep-seated resistance to what must be faced within. Consider the wounded healer archetype, not as a symbol of successful recovery, but as a siren song of avoidance. Its allure lies in the promise that by tending to others, by adopting the language of healing, you can sidestep the gaping wound within yourself. This isn't about true altruism, it's about a masterful deflection. Jung spoke of shadow possession, of the parts of ourselves we refuse to integrate, allowing them to dictate our actions from the hidden corners of the psyche. Nietzsche challenged us with the concept of manufactured virtue, the pretense of goodness that serves only to shield us from our own perceived deficiencies. You find yourself caught in these avoidance loops, performing healing rather than embodying it, your spiritual aspirations a beautifully constructed edifice built on the bedrock of denial. This constant pursuit of external validation, of the right affirmations and the perfect guru, has become a psychological disarmament ritual disguised as self-discovery. It's a way to dismantle any authentic confrontation, any raw truth that might disrupt the comfort identity you've so carefully constructed. You're not seeking liberation. You're seeking to confirm you're on the right path, even if that path is just a well-worn treadmill of repetition, leading you ever deeper into your unconscious loyalties to pain. But what happens when the performance becomes exhausting? When the echo of your own sincerity starts to fade? In the next section, we'll explore how the very robes of healing can become the chains of self-deception. And real quick, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos. Now let's keep going. The illusion wears robes, fine linen woven with the threads of spiritual aspiration and self-improvement. These garments are not mere clothing, they are a deliberate construction, a costume donned to embody a desired state of being rather than acknowledging the current reality within. Think of the person who constantly speaks of their spiritual journey, their awakening, their profound insights, yet beneath the surface, a profound emptiness festers. These robes are not chosen by accident. They are meticulously selected to project an image of achieved enlightenment, a shield against the uncomfortable truth of their own unfinished business. It's as if saying the words, quoting the masters, and attending the retreats creates a protective barrier. Nietzsche warned of this, of the danger of appearing virtuous without truly embodying it, a hollow imitation that distracts from the essential work. And all the while, the unconscious watches from behind the velvet curtain of these robes, its presence a heavy, unspoken weight. The constant need for external validation only reinforces the illusion, making the wearer more tethered to the external performance and less connected to the internal landscape. It's a beautiful, tragic ballet of avoidance, where the dancer believes they are moving toward freedom, but each step only binds them tighter to the stage. This performative spirituality, this curated existence, creates a profound hunger. What is it that we are starving within when we cloak ourselves in such elaborate illusions? The next section will illuminate the paradox of the wounded healer, who never truly acknowledges the depth of their own wounds. The wounded healer never bled out loud. This archetype, so often lauded as the pinnacle of empathy and compassion, holds a secret suffering, a silent, unacknowledged pain. The narrative we've been fed glorifies their ability to tend to others, to offer solace and understanding, all while their own wounds remain hidden, festering beneath the surface. It's a performance of mastery over pain, not an integration of it. Think of those who dedicate their lives to helping others, therapists, counselors, spiritual guides, whose personal lives are filled with unspoken turmoil. They offer wisdom born from experience, but the experience itself is never fully owned. It is a source of their authority, not a subject of their own deep, unvarnished confrontation. Like a priest confessing others but never truly hearing their own inner confession, there is a disconnect. This refusal to outwardly express their own suffering is not stoicism, it is a form of profound exile. The pain is not gone. It is merely partitioned away, relegated to a part of the self that is deemed unacceptable. Jung understood this when he spoke of the shadow, the unacknowledged aspects of ourselves that can possess us from the dark. The wounded healer's refusal to cry out is a silent testament to the weight of this hidden burden. They become adept at masking their internal distress, wearing a placid smile while their inner landscape is a storm. This creates a peculiar kind of authority, a mystique that draws others in, seeking solace from someone who appears to have transcended suffering, when in reality, they have only learned to meticulously conceal it. But what happens when the facade begins to crack and the unacknowledged pain seeks an outlet? In the next section, we will explore this phenomenon further, examining how self-help itself can become a sophisticated form of sacred avoidance. Self-help in its modern incarnation has become sacred avoidance. What began as a potential pathway to self-awareness has morphed into an elaborate system of distractions, a spiritual labyrinth designed to keep us from the true cavern of our own being. We collect books, attend seminars, and follow online gurus, accumulating tools and wisdom, but rarely do we engage in the actual construction of our own inner dwelling. This constant pursuit of more information, more techniques, more aha moments serves as a perpetual deferral. Each new strategy, each empowering mantra acts as a temporary balm, appeasing the inner ache without ever confronting its source. It's like treating a deep infection with a series of superficial bandages, congratulating ourselves on our diligence in applying them while the disease rages on unseen. Consider the endless cycle of self-improvement. Fitness plans, productivity hacks, mindfulness apps. They offer the promise of a better self, a more optimized existence, but often they are just more sophisticated ways to avoid the messy, difficult work of self-acceptance. Kierkegaard spoke of the dread of the soul, the existential angst that drives us to do anything to avoid confronting it. Self-help, at its most seductive, offers precisely that, a way to outrun the dread. We become addicts to the idea of healing, mistaking the pursuit for the attainment. The comfort of the well-worn path of self-help becomes a trap, a gilded cage that looks remarkably like progress. We are so busy acquiring the keys to freedom that we forget to even try opening the door. But when the escape route becomes the prison, what is the true nature of our confinement? This leads us to the silent observer, Jung's undeveloped shadow, which watches our every move from the periphery. In the next section, we will explore its watchful, unacknowledged presence. Jung's undeveloped shadow watches in silence. It is not a malicious entity plotting your downfall, but rather a neglected child, a forgotten aspect of the self left to languish in the dark corners of the psyche. While we busily engage in our self-help rituals, our shadow self observes, a silent witness to our evasions and our performances. It is the unacknowledged truth of our being, the parts of ourselves we have deemed too ugly, too weak, or too shameful to integrate. This shadow is not inherently evil, it is merely unlit. It holds our primal instincts, our repressed desires, our unexpressed anger, and our deepest fears. When we refuse to confront these aspects, they do not disappear. Instead, they gather strength in the darkness, their influence subtly shaping our thoughts, our actions, and our relationships. We project these shadow qualities onto others, finding them intolerable in the world outside, thus failing to recognize them as a part of ourselves. The silence of this undeveloped shadow is not peaceful emptiness, it is a pregnant silence, a charged stillness that precedes a potent revelation or a breakdown. It is the quiet hum of the unconscious, a constant undercurrent to our conscious lives. Nietzsche's plea to know thyself, to embrace all aspects of existence, including the abyss, falls on deaf ears when we are too preoccupied with polishing our virtuous facade. We become so invested in the image of our healed self that we fail to notice the growing presence of the unintegrated. It is the ghost in the machine, the untamed wilderness within that we pretend doesn't exist, yet it secretly dictates the landscape of our inner world. This silent watchfulness is profound. What does this shadow see when it looks at us, performing our healing? In the next section, we'll investigate the role of the mirror, which so often reflects our curated selves back to us, refusing to shatter the illusion. The mirror refuses to shatter. It presents a polished surface, a reflection of the self we wish to be, carefully curated and presented to the world. But within this seemingly solid glass lies a profound deception. It is a symbol of self-awareness, yet it often serves as an agent of denial, showing us only what we are willing to see, a tranquil surface that belies the chaotic depths beneath. We gaze into this mirror seeking validation, confirmation of our progress, our newfound wisdom. But the mirror is often complicit in our self-deception, reflecting back the image we project, the persona we have carefully constructed. Like the wounded healer who never truly shows their own scars, we present a flawless face to the world, hiding the cracks and fissures that define our true humanity. Blake understood the dual nature of perception. If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. But our doors of perception are often smudged with the dust of avoidance, and the mirror reflects only a limited, distorted reality. It becomes a gatekeeper, preventing us from stepping through to a more profound understanding of ourselves. This refusal to shatter is not a sign of strength, but a testament to our fear of the raw, unedited truth. We cling to the illusion of wholeness, terrified of the disarray that would be exposed if the mirror were to break. The unbroken mirror, therefore, becomes a symbol of arrested development, a beautiful prison of our own making. What lies beyond this shattered illusion if we dared to break the glass? In the next section, we'll examine Nietzsche's challenge to manufactured virtue and how our attempts at goodness can become their own form of bondage. Nietzsche's trap of forced virtue is a subtle yet devastating snare. It is the inherent danger found not in embracing our darker instincts, but in the performance of goodness, in the conscientious effort to embody virtues that are not genuinely felt. This striving for manufactured excellence, for a moral purity that is not rooted in authentic being, creates a peculiar kind of spiritual prison. We see this in the relentless pursuit of positive affirmations, the insistence on seeing the good in all situations, even when faced with profound injustice or personal suffering. It's a doctrine of forced cheerfulness, a moral imperative to deny the painful aspects of reality. Nietzsche, himself a critic of Christian morality, would recognize this as a modern echo of a system that prizes outward piety over inner truth. This is not about embracing malice or cruelty. It is about acknowledging the full spectrum of human experience, the shadow alongside the light, the despair alongside the hope. When we force ourselves to be virtuous, to always be good, to never acknowledge our own failings or darkness, we create a hollow shell. The virtues become a costume, a performance designed to appease societal expectations or a fabricated inner ideal. The psychic cost is immense. This constant pressure to maintain an unblemished facade leads to a profound inner exhaustion, a disconnect from one's true self. Like a tower built on unstable foundations, it appears impressive from afar, but it is destined to crumble. We become so focused on appearing virtuous that we lose touch with what it means to be human. But what happens when these carefully constructed towers begin to show their fragility? In the next section, we'll explore the addictive nature of forced ascension and the hollowness it breeds. Towers of dust and ascension addiction. This is the spiritual pursuit divorced from grounding, the relentless upward gaze that ignores the crumbling foundations beneath. We build these towers of self-improvement, these edifices of enlightenment, brick by careful brick, with affirmations, techniques, and guru recommendations. But if the base is made of dust, of unacknowledged pain and repressed truth, the entire structure is inherently unstable. The addiction is to the idea of ascension, to the promise of escaping the mundane, the messy, the difficult aspects of human existence. It's a feverish, upward scramble, a desperate attempt to flee the gravity of our own being. We become so focused on reaching the summit that we become oblivious to the erosion happening at our feet. The very tools we use to build our towers, when not rooted in honest self-confrontation, become the source of their eventual collapse. This constant striving for a higher plane, for a state of perpetual bliss, is a form of spiritual bypassing. It's a way to avoid the essential work of integrating our shadow, of acknowledging our deep conditioning, and of facing the existential dread Kierkegaard spoke of. We are so eager to leave the earth that we forget that true growth requires roots. The irony is that these towers, built with such fervent aspiration, are often hollow. They are constructs of the ego, seeking ever greater heights to distract from the emptiness within. The dust of their foundations whispers forgotten truths, memories of the pain we've tried so desperately to escape. But what is the true nature of the silence we seek when we flee the ground beneath our feet? In the next section, we will explore the profound power of the silence that has been deliberately exiled from our conscious awareness. The silence that was exiled holds a potent truth. It is not the absence of noise, but a profound, resonant space that we have systematically learned to fear and avoid. We fill our lives with constant chatter, external and internal, a cacophony of distractions that keeps us from hearing the deeper whispers of our own soul. This exiled silence is where genuine wisdom resides, yet we treat it like a void. When we speak of avoidance, we often think of outward actions, but the most insidious form of avoidance is the internal silencing of our own inner voice. The quiet hum of intuition, the gentle nudge of knowing, the prickle of truth, these are often drowned out by the noise of anxiety, self-doubt, and the endless pursuit of external gratifications. Nietzsche's exhortation to listen to the quiet voice within is a radical act in our culture of constant clamor. This exiled silence is also where our deepest hurts reside, the unacknowledged grief, the unshed tears. We fear that if we were to truly be still, to truly listen, we would be inundated by the pain we have worked so hard to suppress. This fear is not unfounded, but the act of exile only amplifies the suffering. The pain, unacknowledged, festers and grows, finding oblique ways to manifest in our lives. This is the silence of the tomb, not of peace. It is the silence of something entombed, waiting to be resurrected. We build our loud lives as a monument to the fear of this inner quiet, this unacknowledged truth. But what happens when the monuments begin to crumble and the silence we have exiled begins to assert its presence? In the next section, we'll explore how the saboteur, once a shadowy figure, now often appears in the guise of virtue. The saboteur wears white robes now. No longer the lurking villain in the shadows, this internal force of destruction has donned the raiment of righteousness, of self-improvement, of spiritual purity. It is the part of us that, under the guise of noble intention, secretly undermines our growth, our authenticity, and our true well-being. Think of the person who is too good to engage in necessary conflict, who avoids honest confrontation with the excuse of maintaining peace. This subtle sabotage is often the most damaging. It operates under the banner of virtue, making it incredibly difficult to recognize. It's the voice that whispers, "Don't rock the boat," when the boat is sinking. It's the compulsion to always say yes, even when it leads to burnout and resentment, cloaked in the language of helpfulness and selflessness. This is the trap of forced virtue we've discussed, made manifest. The white robes are a deception, a carefully constructed disguise that allows the saboteur to operate with impunity. It feeds on our desire to be seen as good, as spiritual, as enlightened. By presenting itself as the embodiment of these ideals, it gains a foothold, a trusted position within our psyche from which it can then subtly dismantle our progress. The Jungian shadow, when projected and denied, can often manifest in this outwardly virtuous, yet inwardly destructive form. This is the serpent in the garden, not as a creature of darkness, but as an angel of light, whispering seductive falsehoods that lead us away from our true path. We become our own greatest obstacle, ironically, through our fervent attempts to be our best selves. But when the truth of this benevolent-looking saboteur is revealed, what is the ritual that can truly begin to dismantle its power? In the next section, we will explore how the ritual itself, when performative, is not the threshold to transformation. The ritual is not the threshold. We engage in rituals constantly, morning routines, meditation practices, therapy sessions, believing these actions automatically transport us to a new state of being. But the outer form, the performed action, is often a hollow echo of its potential power. The ritual itself is not the key. It is the intention, depth, and truthful engagement behind it that unlocks the gate. Consider the person who meditates daily for an hour but uses the time to escape their thoughts rather than observe them. The ritual of meditation is performed, the time is dedicated, but the threshold to inner awareness remains firmly shut. This is a crucial point. The performance of healing is not healing itself. It is a sophisticated form of avoidance, a symbolic act that bypasses the actual experiential reality. The danger lies in mistaking the symbol for the signified. We become enamored with the idea of the ritual, the aesthetic of spiritual practice, without diving into the messy, uncomfortable truths it is meant to reveal. Nietzsche's challenge to embrace all aspects of life, the abyss included, is what truly transforms a ritual from a mere act into a threshold. Without this willingness to descend, to confront, the ritual becomes an elaborate form of keeping oneself at a safe distance from authentic change. We collect rituals like talismans, believing their mere presence will ward off our inner demons. But these demons are only truly vanquished when we face them, not when we perform an act that symbolically represents facing them from afar. The veil remains intact, the gate remains closed. So if the ritual is not the threshold, what is it that truly binds us, even when we believe we are on a path to liberation? In the next section, we will investigate archetypal possession, the subtle takeover of our identity by forces that masquerade as our own will. Archetypal possession operates behind the smile. It is the insidious takeover of our identity by ancient patterns, by the myths and symbols that lie dormant in the collective unconscious and that we have inadvertently invited in. This is not a dramatic demonic possession, but a subtle, pervasive influence that dictates our desires, our fears, and our very sense of self. We see it in the person who projects an image of constant happiness, a blinding smile that masks a deep inner void, a surrender to an archetype of perpetual bliss that isn't truly theirs. We are not simply individuals. We are vessels through which archetypes can express themselves. When we fail to develop our own conscious identity, when we refuse to integrate our shadow, these powerful psychic forces can easily ensnare us. The archetype of the eternally optimistic individual, for instance, can become a tyrannical possessor, forcing us to smile when we grieve, to celebrate when we are in pain. This is the danger of not owning our own narrative. Jung spoke of how archetypes can possess us, turning our innate psychic energies into compulsive, uncontrollable patterns. The smile, in this context, becomes a mask, a deliberate effort to obscure the underlying psychic reality. It's a performative happiness that serves the archetype, not the authentic self. It's like a beautiful tower built by the collective consciousness, but it is not your home. This possession is what allows us to repeat patterns of suffering, to find ourselves trapped in relationships or situations that do not serve us, all while maintaining an outward appearance of well-being. We are not truly acting, we are being acted through. The smile is the flag of surrender, but what truly lies beneath this seemingly impenetrable facade? In the next section, we'll examine how even something as profound as love can be corrupted into a mere strategy for survival. Love has become a strategy. This is the most heart-wrenching realization, that the profound emotion, the sacred bond, has been co-opted, twisted into a tool for self-preservation, a calculated maneuver in the ongoing game of avoiding our own inner emptiness. We no longer love for the sake of love. We love as a means to an end, a shield against loneliness, a credential for worthiness, a strategy to achieve a desired outcome. Consider the relationships that are not built on mutual vulnerability and authentic connection, but on a careful calculation of needs, a quid pro quo of emotional transactions. This isn't genuine affection. It's a contractual arrangement, a pact made with oneself and the other to avoid the terrifying prospect of self-reliance. It's the fear of abandonment dressed up in the language of commitment. This strategic love is often characterized by control, by unspoken expectations, and by a deep-seated fear of true intimacy. True intimacy, with its inherent vulnerability, is too risky. It requires bearing ourselves completely, flaws and all, and that is precisely what we are trying to avoid. So we strategize, we plan, we manipulate, all in an effort to ensure that our emotional needs are met without ever having to truly confront the depth of our own unmet needs. Nietzsche's concept of the will to power, when misapplied to relationships, can lead to this predatory approach. The result is a hollow imitation of connection, a bond that is fragile because it is not rooted in genuine emotional currency but in calculated advantage. It's a mirror that reflects a desired image of connection but not the reality of it. But when love is a strategy, what does it mean to truly suffer? And when suffering becomes our identity, what does that reveal about our deepest loyalties? In the next section, we'll delve into this profound identification with pain. Suffering has become identity. We wear our pain not as a temporary affliction, but as a badge, a defining characteristic that shapes our entire existence. This is the ultimate irony. In our quest to escape suffering, we have become it. Our identity is so deeply entwined with our pain that to imagine a life without it feels like an erasure of self. Think of the person who defines themselves by their past traumas, their chronic illnesses, or their ongoing misfortunes. These hardships become the narrative thread of their lives, the primary lens through which they engage with the world and with themselves. They may receive sympathy, attention, or a predetermined role within their social circle, but the cost is the abdication of their potential for genuine joy and freedom. They have exiled the possibility of healing. This is not to discount the reality of pain or the validity of grief, but when suffering becomes an identity, it is no longer a passing guest. It is the permanent resident of the psyche. We build our sense of self around it, finding a strange form of security in its familiarity. Kierkegaard's concept of despair, the sickness unto death, is deeply linked to this inability to transcend one's current state, to imagine anything beyond one's fixed identity. The mirror, in this context, reflects back not the dynamic self, but a static image of suffering. The strategic love we discussed is often employed to maintain this identity, to find others who validate and reinforce our narrative of pain. But what does the mirror truly want when confronted with such profound self-identification? In the next section, we'll explore the mirror's true desire, not healing, but witness. The mirror doesn't want healing, it wants witness. It longs to reflect the unvarnished truth, the raw and unedited reality of our inner lives, not a curated version designed for external approval or self-deception. We approach the mirror seeking a reflection of progress, of improvement, of a healed self. But its true function is to bear witness to what is, without judgment, without agenda. Our refusal to be truly witnessed by ourselves, our resistance to seeing ourselves as we are, flaws, shadows, and all, is the root of our continued suffering. We present a polished facade to the mirror, hoping it will affirm our fabricated wholeness. But the mirror is a patient observer. It holds the space for us to finally see, to finally acknowledge the parts of ourselves we have kept hidden. The desire for witness is a profound need for recognition, not of our perfection, but of our authenticity. It is the soul's cry to be seen, to be known, in its entirety. When we finally allow the mirror to reflect our true selves, the process of healing can begin, not as a performance, but as an organic unfolding. It is in this act of unflinching self-observation that the possibility of transformation truly lies. This recognition of our own being, without the need for external validation, is the first step toward integrating the exiled parts of ourselves. It is through honest witness that we move beyond the performance of healing and towards genuine transformation. So, as we stand before this reflective truth, what is the necessary next step? In the final section, we will embark on a powerful ritual of unbecoming, a dismantling of the false self to make space for something more real. The dismantling, a ritual of unbecoming. This is not about building something new, but about the courageous, sacred act of deconstruction. It's the process of shedding the layers of illusion, the carefully constructed defenses, the identities we've adopted to shield ourselves from the raw truth of our being. It's the symbolic shattering of the mirror, not to escape, but to finally see. This ritual is an acknowledgement that our current construction is not working, that the towers of dust are unstable, and that the white robes of the saboteur have become a suffocating shroud. It is a conscious decision to surrender the comfort of the known, the familiar patterns of suffering that have become a perverse form of home. It is an invitation to the exiled silence, to the undeveloped shadow, to step out of the darkness and into the light of conscious awareness. We must carefully dismantle the illusion, not with anger or violence, but with a profound reverence for the parts of ourselves that sought protection, however misguidedly. This is the act of symbolic disarmament, the laying down of weapons we never knew we were holding, the weapons of denial, of strategic love, of performative healing. It is a sacred unbecoming, a return to a more elemental state of being. It is in this space of emptiness, this cleared ground, that true growth can finally take root. This is a descent, not an ascension. It is a willingness to confront the abyss, to embrace the paradox, and to trust that within the dissolution of the false self lies the potential for a truer, more integrated existence. The journey inward is a descent into the underworld of the psyche, where hidden treasures and ancient wounds await their emergence. Now that concludes this video. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.